So for quite a while now, I've been considering whether I should be getting a custom made to measure suit for my racing, or if I should just stick to the status quo, which was buying really good suits off the rack. And so I made the plunge. I took the plunge in 2020 and purchased this Mithos custom made to measure suit. And I can share some of my opinions here, and that's just what they are, opinions. This is all subjective. But hopefully this is going to give you some answers if you're looking for answers on whether your next purchase should be custom or should be off the rack. We'll talk about performance. We'll talk about the comfort of the suit, the additional benefits of having it custom made to measure, the safety of the suit, and we'll talk about value, which I think is probably the major deciding factor here, and it's a pretty subjective one. So let's get into it and let's talk about this Mithos suit. Mithos is a Swiss company that was established in 2012 and has experience working with top-level racers like Moto2 racers and Moto3 racers and on down. And they, just like every other company at this level, they use the data that they collect at the top levels and then bring it down, trickle it down to the riders like us. So Mithos has a pedigree and a history of working within that top tier, and it reflects in their products. What's different about Mithos is that they established themselves with the goal that they were going to be providing the regular riders and club racers and smaller racers like that the opportunity to have custom-made suits. And that was a niche that relatively was unfilled at that point. In 2017, they came to the US and they established a core team here in the US. And then they have a network, which is cool about Mithos. They have a lot of, I guess you would call them like specialists or something, or certified people that are like boots on the ground at the brick and mortar shops that you might already go to in your area. They might have a specialist at a local shop for you that kind of has been trained on the Mithos product line, what choices there are to make, what the process is to get a custom suit made, and basically how to measure you accurately for Mithos's like really comprehensive measurement chart. So that was a really cool aspect of it. You have a one-on-one FaceTime with someone you might already have a relationship with, or someone that you can meet with in person. And on top of that, you've got communication coming from Mithos directly, which is really cool. So there's actually a dialogue there for customer service when you're creating the suit. And also after you've created the suit and you've used it and you've determined maybe there's some tweaks that you can make, they can kind of advise you on what to do and determine if you need to further customize the suit in whatever way is best for you. So that's really cool. And that's a huge advantage that Mithos has over just buying off the shelf and just kind of dealing with what you've got. Mithos is kind of supporting you along the way because they know you paid a good amount for this suit. So they're going to support you and they support their own product. Which I think is very commendable. So let's talk about the quality of the product and the features that it has as a technical piece. It's got all the boxes checked that you'd expect from a top tier suit. It's got the impact absorbing shoulder, elbow, and knee protection on the external part of it. It's got SASTech interior removable armor. It's got the perforation that you'd want, fully customizable, whether you want full perf, half perf, things like that. But it's notable that it has good perforation. It's got the Keprotec stretch panels in the strategic areas to help you with mobility. It's also got YKK zippers throughout and an inner liner that's removable and washable. And it's got replaceable elbow sliders, rebuildable, all these external padding. And it's got options for whether you want cowhide or kangaroo leather, cuff and collar finishers that are kind of, they boost up the level of comfort that the suit provides you. So it's got all of that stuff going for it. And it's also got a lot of stretch paneling in the leather itself to kind of accommodate and give your range of motion even more freedom. And on top of that, that doubles as a functional piece because it's supposed to accommodate what I think is a very important piece of equipment, which is a huge selling point for me, was Tech Air. Alpinestars Tech Air is something that I think is 100% mandatory for your next purchase of leathers. I think that should be on your list. You should save for it if you don't have the money right now. Make it a point to get that in your leathers. It's a big advancement forward in rider safety, and I think it's 100% what you should be aiming for. Whether it's a custom suit like this or an off-the-rack suit, there are suits available off the rack that have Tech Air or a similar. Something like Dainese D Air would be a competing brand, and that's totally fine too. I'm just talking about Tech Air in particular because that's what my suit has. But really what I'm talking about is overall air deployment system for that added layer of active protection to go along with the passive protection that's like, the built-in back protector, the SASTEC armor, things like that. So off my soapbox, it actually worked really well. I took a low side as I hit the gravel and then started tumbling. That's when it really did its job and did it well. I didn't feel any lumps. It was really good at protecting me from that type of damage to my body. And that's what you pay for. You pay for that extra protection and safety are number one, in my opinion, when it comes to buying this stuff and spending your money on this stuff. The leathers themselves, Mithos did a really good job with the construction. You could tell because it did a really good job with abrasion resistance on the leather itself. This is kangaroo leather. They also have cowhide. I think both would do fine. Kangaroo leather is just a little more supple and thinner with the same level of protection. So it feels a little more mobile, but the protection level was really good. It checked out after the crash, looked great. It obviously looks like it's rashed pretty well, but that's all aesthetics. Functionality it still remains. It's still totally functional. It doesn't need a functional repair. Just needs aesthetics, like the patches and the shoulder protector that got damaged needs repair. But it's totally functional and it's held together and it's been raced on since. So well done, Mithos, on that one. I think that was a really good first test of the suit's integrity, and it passed for sure. So. The next thing is fitment. That's a really important one, and that's why I paid a lot of extra money for that versus an off-the-rack thing. And this is definitely another personal preference thing. Some of you might fit perfectly into an off-the-rack suit. Some of you might fit horribly into an off-the-rack suit. And that latter group of people probably wants to really consider look closely at a custom suit. I'm kind of in the middle where most of the suits that I found fit really well, and I've been through a variety of brands. And I had good suits and they fit well for the most part, but there's always like that one little thing or maybe two little things that kind of are, I guess, choke points in the suit fitment. I'm a little broader in the shoulders. That was one of the typical ones, upper arm tightness and mobility, as well as the thighs. That was really the killer for me. I think I have thicker thighs compared to the rest of my body build. And so you've got to be active on the bike, and fatigue is a real thing, and you want to avoid as much fatigue as you can, and that's through riding style and technique, but it's also through your equipment. So you can get these choke points like I did on my quads every time I bought an off-the-rack leather, and I just learned to deal with it, but it's not pleasant when you're going through a race and the final lap, your entire quad is burning or both your quads are burning, and I wanted to avoid that. So that was a big push for me to up my ante as far as the money I was spending on getting a custom suit. And I think it paid off. I have noticed that there's a lot less physical fatigue when it comes to fighting the suit. I feel really comfortable moving around on the bike and just being active on the bike versus being passive and having to fight the suit and conserve energy because the suit is too tight here and there. It's really allowed me to move properly on the bike, which as you know is it's a really important fundamental when you're racing. So yeah, the fitment was great. Now, is it worth it? All of this, the features that I mentioned, the service that I mentioned, the performance and the fit and comfort of the suit. Those are all increases for sure in the quality of what I've gotten in the past. This suit has provided me a next step for all those aspects. But it's a lot more money too. That's a big step. For me personally, I treated it as a luxury item. I know this is not a need, but it was something that I think added the right amount of value for the hefty price that it came with. And I was just kind of ready to spend this money on this. And maybe you're not, and maybe you can fit really well off the rack, and maybe you don't think that these additional features are worth it. But for me personally, my opinion is that it worked out for me, and I think I got value out of it. And so I don't regret the purchase. Everybody's different though. So that's kind of the summary. I think it's a really great suit. I support it fully. I think it's on par with what it should be. And if you have any other questions or things that I didn't cover that you want to discuss, definitely hit me up in the comments section. Happy to talk about it and have a dialogue there. But ride safe. Enjoy the rest of the season. Thanks.